Alright, so we're going to start off with a piece of stabilized koa from that same half log that I found on the ground you saw in the very first build of this toothpick dispenser. And we're going to turn a quick tenon, throw it into the 4-way chuck, and that will give us a chance to have a really nice secure hold as opposed to that spur drive. Alright, we're going to start roughing it round, and I'm using the Hunter Tools Badger, or actually the Hercules number 3 on this, and it's an awesome tool. I used a lot of carbides on this project because it was impregnated with that resin, so it did just cut a lot smoother and more nicely with the carbides, especially Hunter Tools. That Hercules is such an awesome device to use. I'm starting to love the figure that's coming out. You can see I'm getting a shape that I want. I still don't know exactly what I end up with or what I want to end up with, but we're getting there and enjoying the process. I'm going to start to cut in a bead here, and the idea is to give me some extra meat where the lid meets the body, so I don't have to worry about another potential crack. I'm taking a bowl gouge here and just getting somewhat a shape that I'm thinking of. I'm starting to lean toward doing an urn style, nice body. I lost some footage here, but I did take a parting tool and cut the lid off, and I'll just take that flush cut saw and part it off. Alright, now we're going to hollow it out, and I start out by taking a skew, and I'll cut this a nice little cone in the center that will help me zero in with the drill bit, and then I'll get the depth that I want, and then it's just easy to take the hollowing tool, which in this case is going to be another Hunter tool, the Badger Cub number 3, I think, and that does such a great job on these end grain hollowings. I'll clean up this face here and then we'll keep going. I'll end up taking a square bit carbide in here just to kind of clean up the edges inside. You can see it right there, and it does such a nice job at squaring everything up. Here's that square bit carbide that I used to clear out the inside. I'm going to use that same tool and cut a tenon into the top of this body here. And it does such a nice job again on this stabilized koa. And you can hear we have chickens in the back. They are constantly in every video. They just had some more chicks, and so they're busily foraging in the yard. But get everything cleaned up, squared away, and then start to sand it. I really enjoy the sanding process, especially on stabilized koa, especially this piece of stabilized koa. It was just awesome. It turns out so nice. This has quickly become my favorite part of almost any project. We're going to use friction polish here. This is the awesome product from Axe Abrasive Paste. and oh man, that just brings the whole thing to life. I can't get enough of this process. So yeah, we'll rub it in, and then we'll turn on the lathe, kind of a higher RPM, maybe 1500, and then we'll get it from, I think, a 400 grit finish all the way up to probably 800 to 1000, and then with the friction polish, we end up taking it a little bit higher than that, and it just makes the thing so silky smooth in your hand. So enjoy the process, because it's awesome. So just wiping off the excess, and then I'll take the air hose and I'll blow out any crevices or cracks to get any of this paste out of there. You don't want it to sit on the surface once you put a some sort of finish on there. And it does a really nice job with that air hose to blow it out of the cracks. Then I'll just wipe it up, and we're pretty much done. Okay, so we're going to clean up the bottom. Obviously that base is a little too big, and I had the idea of just having a nice small little bead or a little lip on the base. And so this is a parting tool that we're going to use to kind of take it down to the the diameter that I want, and then we'll take a smaller parting tool to get behind the foot, like we see here, and that creates just a nice little bead that I think is aesthetically pleasing. There was a little bit of chip out, and because I have a finished surface, I'm going to tape it up and then just do a lot of this easing of that hard edge with sandpaper, and we're going to sand it all the way up to 400 again, and it ends up looking really, really nice. Okay, now we got the lid inside the lathe, inside the chuck. Take that same Badger Cub tool. This is actually the size number 3, and the Hercules is size number 1. The size number 3 has that smaller head on it, and we're just going to start taking away material from the inside and really trying to be cognizant of the fit. So I do slow down quite a bit here during this process because I want the mortise to fit that tenon really, really well. Here we have the calipers, and we're just going to make sure that we work our way up to the line, leaving it just a little bit proud, and that way we can work our way very, very slowly to it and have a really nice secure fit. Before I get too far and make a funnel, I'm going to just check our depth here, and I have learned that checking twice is much, much better than not, obviously. So with this such nice piece of koa, I really don't want to end up making a funnel, and so I do check quite a bit, and we're looking pretty well. I end up having a probably 1/8 of an inch thick, maybe a little bit over an 1/8 of an inch thick wall on the lid here. Take that same square carbide, and we're going to cut out the mortise, and I want to make sure I'm taking nice easy cuts, no tear out, very gentle. And I also want to leave just a little strip on the inside of this mortise that's just proud at the top here, and that helps create a really nice suction fit, I find, and it did such a nice job on this particular project. As you can see, we have a really nice fit. It's very tight, and this gives me a chance to use the lid as a jam chuck, and I can finish the bottom of the base. Just making sure it's very secure. And because this is a jam chuck fit, I will take very light cuts with a really sharp bowl gouge and just kind of clean up the bottom there, and then we'll get on to sanding, and then we can move on to finishing the lid. Brought up tail support so I could be a little bit more aggressive. You don't want to push too hard on sandpaper, but I didn't want this thing to fly off in case it caught the sandpaper or whatnot. So tailstock helped quite a bit, and then I just cleaned up the little hole with just a little Dremel and a kind of tapered sanding bit, and it did a really good job. But I did that off camera. Take a round nose scraper with the rest set a little bit above center, and we'll just kind of clean up any tool marks we have in here before we take the majority of it away with sanding. I find that the round nose scrapers are just awesome, especially for the inside of this type of project. And I'll also use it to help clean up any tear out we have right here, and it does a really good job. That bead ended up looking really, really clean. Alright, time to drill at the center. And at first I had it with the lathe spinning on its own. I did not like that, so then I just hand spun the lathe and just turned the drill bit by hand, and it ended up making a really nice clean hole. Get everything sanded up before we do, again, one of my favorite parts is the axe sanding paste, or any sanding paste, but the wax just really makes the whole thing pop. So let's watch that and enjoy the show. Here I have a piece of guava cut off that I'm going to use for a jam chuck. It is harder than the Koa, but it actually ends up making a really nice jam chuck. So I'm going to clean it up, get it to the size I need to jam chuck the lid, and then I can do the top of the lid and get this thing finished up. So here's the fit. Really, really nice fit. And you can kind of see that there's the jaw marks on the top of that tenon there. And that's what we're going to get rid of, and there's also some of that stabilizing resin on there. So I didn't like how this fit at first, so I'm going to kind of tap it in and make sure everything's nice and seated, and it ends up being a really nice fit, like I said. We'll get this thing cleaned up, and it's running pretty smooth. I like that. So get the rest in place, and then we're going to be using a negative break carbide square cutter, but it's got a radius on it, and that's going to help me prevent catching those swept back corners. But we're going to get rid of that resin right there, make a really nice smooth cut. And the lid was reminding me of a couple different things, but because this is from my brother, we have Utah roots. I don't know if you guys know, but Utah is known as the beehive state, and so as I'm turning this, the idea of turning this into a beehive-like design starts to pop into my head, and I end up going for it. So, and it actually ends up looking really, really nice. We are going to kind of try to clean it up. It's not, I don't know if it's moved or it's just not as centered as it was now that it's on this jam chuck, but we do have quite a bit to kind of clean up. There's a little bit of an uneven surface there. And we'll do that here. Again, I'm taking that square carbide end and just kind of making sure everything's nice and clean. I don't like how aggressive that tip was being, so I end up switching over to that round nose scraper that does such a nice job. But here I am cleaning up the tenon, getting rid of those tool marks from the clamp, or from the four-way chuck. And then there's that round nose scraper. This thing does such a nice job cleaning up this end grain. So I thought I could cut in these circles in with that parting tool, but I ended up having to take a skew, which does a much better job. And then you can kind of see that's the beehive, a very old traditional beehive, not like the Langstroth beehives that, the box hives that you use nowadays. But yeah, so I clean it up. It ends up looking really, really nice. And again, we get to enjoy one of my favorite parts of this whole thing, especially with this particular piece of koa. We're gonna put on the that friction polish. Let's just enjoy it and see what happens. Look at it. That's why it's my favorite. Here's the finished product here before the finish. I did get a can of shellac, luckily, but golly, I'll have some close-ups at the end, but look how incredible that is. All right, before I show you the final version that worked out really, really well, let's go over what I did with version 2. So you can see that it is bullet-shaped. It's really, really pretty. Really great grain, of course, even stabilized. I did turn it a little thin on these walls here, and we end up getting a pretty devastating crack. With us being out of shellac, it was hard to finish this. The tongue oil didn't really take after about 15 coats, which it really shouldn't take that many coats. And so then I did a shellac finish, but then it messed with the tongue finish. So all in all, I'm pretty happy that it did not work out. Now, let's get into the final version. All right, guys, here it is, finally done. Man, what a adventure we've been on with this project. And what turned out to be just a nice little request, not really his request, but I wanted to do it for him, turned out to be a very beautiful piece. This koa is amazing. And, you know, side-by-side comparison, I definitely like the urn style with that beehive design lid. Listen to this close, or listen to this open. It's a really nice fit. Nice tight fit. Beautiful interior. I don't know if I can show you. I'll get some close-ups here at the end of the video so you guys can really get a feel for this really magnificent piece. But join us next week. A really, really fun project for a coworker. And yeah, I'll show you some close-ups like I said at the end. But until next time, we'll see you on the next adventure. Look at that green cheese. Isn't that exquisite? Woo! Really love that look. See if we can line up the green here. I'm not sure if that is.